Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Easy English Learning. In today's English class, we will be continuing the story Paul's Principle. As we have done half story, and in that we talked about a boy who is 4 years old, who is Paul, and he has one big sister Kay and one big brother Ross, and how they play with their toys, and how space game is the favorite game of Paul that we have read so far. Now, for that explanation, you can refer to the part 1 of the video. I'll share the link in the description. You can refer to that. So we will be continuing that what happened when Paul one day he was playing with space game. What happened after that? On several occasions, Ross had gone out, then come home only to find that his space game was not as he left it. Ross had grown suspicious of Paul. Now, one day, on several occasions, sometimes Ross used to find it that his game is not the way he left it. His space game, something has been changed from it. Means its place, the way of keeping it, so something has been changed. He used to notice that. And he had grown suspicious of Paul. Suspicious means to be suspectful, have suspect on someone. So he thought that maybe something is fishy. Paul is doing something. One ghastly day, Paul was caught in the act by a furious Ross. Ross had gone out. Paul had begun the launch. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Then Ross returned without explanation. Too late to hide the spacecraft, the hairs on the back of the Paul's neck stood up. Now, what happened one day, one ghastly day? Ghastly means unpleasant. Unpleasant means that is not good. One day, that day was not good for Paul. Paul was caught in the act by a furious Ross. Furious means angry. As Ross was very angry when he saw that Paul was playing with his space game without his permission. Ross had gone out. Ross was outside the house and he suddenly came back home and he caught Paul that he was just launching the rocket. You can see in the image also that he was just saying 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, the way he was launching the rocket. Or this spacecraft, what is that in the game. Then Ross returned without explanation. At that time, Ross didn't say anything. He just returned from there. Too late to hide the spacecraft now. It was very late for Paul to hide the spacecraft. It is a spacecraft. So the hairs on the back of Paul's neck stood up. Now he was very scared. He was frightened. So in that fear, his back of the hair on Paul's neck, they just stood up. Then what happened next? You can see in the image as these boys were fighting. Ross caught Paul by the scruff of the neck. He hauled him roughly across the room, yelling, "I will launch you." Now, Ross caught Paul by the scruff of the neck. Scruff of the neck means the back of the neck. He caught Paul from the back of the neck, yelling. Yelling means shouting, to shout, that "I will launch you." He was very much angry on Paul's behavior as he was playing with his game without his permission. Paul let out some blood-curdling screams, desperate to attract an attention, and yes, this time he did get a response. Amazing. Now, Paul, he was just crying. Blood-curdling screams means causing terror, means he was very much terrified. His screams were so loud that it was causing terror all around. And desperate to attract an audience, and he was very much eager. Desperate means very much eager to have the audience, means to attract someone so that someone could save him from Ross. And yes, This time he did get a response, and this time, while he was yelling, while he was shouting, he did get a response. That was amazing that he actually got response. This was the first occasion Paul could remember his parents intervening, although it had taken quite a hullabaloo to attract their attention. Now, this was the first occasion that Paul could remember that his parents were intervening. Intervening means to come between disputing people. That as if some people are fighting, more than two or more people are fighting. So if someone is coming in between to stop that dispute, so they were intervening between Paul and Ross. Although it had taken quite a hullabaloo to attract their attention. Hullabaloo means a very noisy situation. As both were shouting, both were yelling, Ross was yelling, and Paul was shouting, so it was very a noisy situation. So he got attention from their parents. The parents were desperate to bring peace and harmony into their children's play. As a result, they made a rule of household behavior. Family toys, even personally owned toys, could be used by all family members. Now, when the parents intervened, when they came in between, the parents were desperate to bring peace and harmony into their children's play. Now, the parents were desperate. Desperate means they had a great desire. They were eager that there should be peace and harmony into their children's play. As a result, they made a rule of household behavior. And because of that, they made a rule that there should be proper behavior while in the house. That boys should behave properly. They should not fight. They should not shout. They should not yell. That family toys, even personally owned toys, could be used by all family members. That was the rule that was made by the parents. If any child wanted their own toy back when one of the others had it, there was a rule for this too. They had to say, I want my toy, so give it back to me when you're finished. Now, if any child wanted their own toy back when one of the others had it, so there was a rule, they had to say it to the other person who is playing with the toy that I want my toy, so when you are finished, when you are done with playing, just give it back to me. So that's humbly that you can say to your siblings that you can give it back to me after playing with my toy, but you don't have to fight. Nobody will fight. That was the rule made by the parents. They were not allowed to snatch a toy from someone just because the toy was theirs. Paul thought that this was great. The parents had made a new rule which would let them all have much more fun. Now Paul was very excited that finally the parents they have made a rule and they were not allowed to snatch a toy from someone just because the toy was theirs. And he thought that it was great. Now these parents they have made this rule so that he would be having more fun. Now he would be able to take the toys of Kay and Ross. That's what Paul thought. It didn't take long, however, for Paul to be disappointed. He soon discovered that people could still be mean without breaking the rules. Now, it didn't take long, however, for Paul to be disappointed. Now, Paul was again disappointed. He was not feeling happy at all because he soon discovered that people could still be mean without breaking the rules. Mean means bad, not good. So he discovered that people they could still be mean without breaking the rules. And Kay and Ross were often mean to Paul. Sometimes, when Paul was playing happily with a toy, they would grab it as soon as he put it down, pretending that they thought he had finished with it. Usually, they did not actually want the toy, but just wanted to upset Paul. So now Kay and Ross, because they were elder to Paul, so they used to tease Paul. They used to often have fun with him. So, when sometimes Paul was playing happily with the toy, they would grab it as soon as he put it down and pretend that they had finished with it, and they would just take the toy and they would try to upset Paul. They didn't want the toy, they just wanted to upset Paul. That's what they used to do with little Paul. When he cautiously requested, "Please give it back," they said, "You weren't playing with it, so you can't have it now until we are finished." They would then take a long time to finish with it. Now, that's how they used to tease Paul. Now, when he used to cautiously requested them, "Please give it back," then what they said, "Ki you weren't playing with it, and so you can't have it until we are finished. Ki we are playing with the toy, and we will give it back. We won't give it back to you because we are playing." They would then take a long time to finish with it. This taught Paul that even good rules could be used by people in a mean way to cause upset. He tried to think of a rule or an idea that would make people really look after each other. Now, from this Paul, he was taught that even good rules, they could be used by people in a mean way to cause upset. He means sometimes good rules can also be used in a bad way by some people. So how to cope up with that? How to deal with that? He tried to think of a rule or an idea that would make people really look after each other. So now Paul was thinking that how I can correct it, how I can make it right, what idea or what rule I can make to make it right. Paul made up his mind that if he should ever have sons or daughters of his own, he would have a rule that they treat each other kindly, right down to the youngest and smallest, and right up to the oldest. This would be Paul's rule. Now you know the name of the story is what? Paul's Principle. Now, here in this stanza, we got to know about what actually is Paul's Principle. This is there in this stanza that you can see that Paul made up his mind that if he should ever have sons or daughters of his own, he would have a rule that everybody should treat each other in a kind manner. Write down. It doesn't matter if you're young, if you're small, doesn't matter if you're older or elder, you have to treat each other in a kind manner. That was Paul's rule, that nobody will be fighting and everybody will be kind to each other. That was his rule. Paul's rule didn't say exactly what people would have to do on every occasion. His children would have to work out for themselves how to be kind in each situation. This was no ordinary rule, this was a principle, Paul's principle. Now, this Paul's rule, it didn't say exactly that what they have to do on a particular occasion. They just have to be kind in each situation. So, this was no ordinary rule. It was not simple. It was no ordinary rule. This was a principle. Paul's principle. So, his children were taught that you have to be kind in every situation. Whatever it might be, you have to be kind. That was Paul's principle. Paul did go on to have children. He taught them Paul's principle, and it was a happy home. Now, when Paul grew up, when he had children, he taught them Paul's principle, and it was a happy home. His home was a happy home. Everybody was kind to each other. So, this was the story. That's how we got to know what is Paul's principle actually, what he faced when he was a child, when he was a kid of 4 years old, and how he made a rule that we should not fight with anyone, we should not yell at anyone, we should not be mean to anyone, we should be kind to each other. That's how we can make a happy family, happy home, happy society, and everybody around us will be happy. if we will be kind to each other. So this was the story. You can go through this video, and if you want to go through about part 1 of the video, the first 9 pages of the story, and for that you can refer to part 1, and for this you can go through this video again and again. You can listen to the story. And now there are some words that are used in the story. Some new words are there. Their pronunciation I'm speaking, you can practice that, like company, particularly, young, cautious, opportunity, occasionally, suspicious, ghastly, behavior, harmony, enormous, anxious, desperate, launch, caught, astronaut, halt, audience, taught, daughter, cautious, imagination. Then there are some new words: precaution, naughty, harmonious, exhausted, applause, autumn, August, automatic, overhaul, suspicion. So you can practice these words, or you can refer to the meanings in the dictionary, or any difficulty if you are facing, you can write in the comments. I'll try to solve that. Then there are these words. With that, a word is given, along with that a phrase is given, and so that you can understand it more clearly, a sentence is given. You can go through this. If you find any difficulty, you can ask. So this is a kind of activity for your reading, for improving your pronunciation, for understanding in a better manner. So this was the story. Please go through this video for understanding of the story, for learning new words, meaning of their new words. And for more videos like this, please share and subscribe to my channel. And if you like the video, please like it and share it with your friends. Thank you so much.